Say more.
Say more, he said. Okay.
You often say don't say more.
Or say less. Yeah.
Say less. Say more.
Say more. So when you were talking, it reminded me of the history and mystery of wealth and how every economic era created the economic era that succeeded it. But before it succeeded it, or as it succeeded it, it actually made it obsolete.
It made the prior one obsolete.
It made the prior one obsolete. And so if you think about from the beginning of time to the mid-1700s, the economic infrastructure of the world was based on agriculture. And it's hard for us to imagine that. Like, the economic infrastructure of the world is based on agriculture. How much land do you have? How much food can you grow? How many animals can you tend to? And in order to have land, in order to have wealth, you had to have land. Land equaled wealth. Think about that. Land equaled wealth. Countries would go to war to take land from people so they could have more wealth for their country, right? But people were farming land. Well, the people who owned the land didn't farm the land. They were the lords and ladies. They would let poor peasants farm the land for them and give them enough food to stay strong enough to farm the land again next year. That's where we come up with the term landlords. The lords and the ladies are the people who own the land that the peasants farmed. Are y'all tracking? But mid-1700s, people are like, well, you know, this hard work is hard. Maybe I'll invent a plow. Maybe I'll invent a tractor. Maybe I'll invent. And so what happened was people started inventing machines to make farming the land easier. And then they figured out a way to make machines that made work easier. So they leveraged making leverage, which brought in the industrial age. The agricultural age created the need for the industrial age. And the industrial age replaced the agricultural age because wealth moved as a whole from land to machines. And so in the industrial age, from the mid-1700s to the mid-1950s, the people who owned the machines owned the wealth. Well, in the agricultural age, I think one of the things that would benefit all of us is to realize if you're having a hard time generating wealth in 2025, it is more than likely because you are attempting to make a living in the past. You are using outdated tools to accomplish outdated objectives. And so in the agricultural age, everything happens slowly. Why? Because you only have one spring and one fall every year. And so you had one opportunity per year. You talk about time, like you talk about slipstreaming, you had one opportunity per year to make a profit. And it's months and months apart. The gestation period is months and months apart. It doesn't matter whether you're raising animals. Maybe some animals could reproduce a couple of times a year, but that's still very, very slow. But all of a sudden you start making these machines. And one of the things that happened in the industrial age is progress. Progress itself sped up because of technology. And so the machines equaled wealth, but the people who own the machines own the wealth. But one of the things that was created, a couple of things that were created in the industrial age, one is a permission-based society. What do I mean by a permission-based society? If you wanted to be an actor, somebody who owned a movie studio with cameras and sets had to believe that you were a good actor, and they had to approve you and give you permission to be an actor. If you wanted to be an author, somebody who owned a printing press and a publishing company had to think that your writing was worth publishing. If you were a singer, somebody who owned a record label and the ability to record had to believe that you were a good enough singer to. Now, all of that stuff's available to everybody. But most people are still looking for permission to people from the industrial age to give them permission to be an author, to be an actor, to be a singer, to be a whatever. You're waiting for somebody to come by and dub you when that whole thing of being dubbed by somebody other than you, that thing, like it evaporated a long time ago, right?